It took us 2 days for Mike Vrabel to show us how he really feels about the 2025 draft class. That's where we start on this episode of Locked On Patriots.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Patriots fans? I am your host, Nick Cattles, born and raised in New England, also host of the Everything Pats podcast, co-host of the Greg Bedard Patriots podcast with Nick Cattles, and a sports talk show host, veteran. On today's episode, speaking of veteran, an important veteran is off to a hot start. Also, Coach Vrabel and Josh McDaniels focus on a Drake Maye weakness early in camp. But first, the coaching staff is not being bashful using this 2025 draft class. We appreciate you joining the show, making us your first listen, and for being an everydayer. The Locked On Patriots podcast is a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. It's early. We're going to put it out there. I'm going to say this for the next couple of weeks. It's early. We all understand it's early. Until you get to that joint practice in August, early against Washington, we all have to understand and acknowledge and even embrace this is the early portion of training camp. But even though it's early, even though we've only seen 2 days of practice, it's pretty clear there is a theme. And the theme is that Mike Vrabel is giving the rookies a shot. He is giving them a legitimate chance at playing a big role on this team. Andrew Callahan from the Boston Herald writes, the Patriots have all 4 of their draft picks, Will Campbell, Henderson, Wilson, Williams, on the field with Drake Maye in team drills. All 4 of their top draft picks on the field with Maye in team drills. And as Callahan wrote, the future is coming up fast. It's coming up fast. And you want to talk about things happening quickly. How about Jared Wilson? Yes, he was a top 100 pick, but he's also somebody who missed the offseason phase of camp, if you want to call it that. He wasn't really out there for OTAs. He wasn't out there for mandatory minicamp. He was dealing with some kind of injury issue. We wondered if he would be healthy to start camp. We wondered if he was healthy, how much he would get out there on the field. We wondered, would he be playing at center or would he be getting reps at left guard? All of those questions have been answered quickly. Because after 2 days of practice, Wilson's out there. He's out there a lot. And he's playing both spots. He is being given a golden opportunity to win a starting shot on that offensive line. A starting gig. Greg Bedard wrote this. Wilson continues to get some first-team reps at both center and left guard, as it appears he's competing at both spots as the team assesses what's best for him and the roster. 2 spots. 2 spots means opportunity. Jared, we're going to throw you at left guard. We're going to throw you at center. Just keep playing football, young man. Just keep playing football. We're going to throw you out there, do what you do best, and we will tell you where we want to fit you in. But we're going to give you the shot. We're going to give you the chance. We're going to give you the opportunity to win a starting job. We know you weren't there, OTAs and mandatory minicamp. You weren't doing much, if anything, at all. But day 1 training camp, you're out there. Day 2, you're out there. Mark Daniels wrote this about Wilson. It's been noteworthy that Wilson continues to rotate in at center and left guard during competitive team drills. He missed most of the offseason, but the team wasted no time throwing him into the fire to start training camp. And I absolutely freaking love it. Throw him immediately into the deep end of the pool and see what he can do. See what he can handle. If he can't handle it, then you set him to the sideline. You talk to him for a little while. You slow it down, and then you get him back out there. And then you see, with a little bit of slow progression, what he does. But until he shows you that he's completely not ready, until he shows his tuk-tuk way too many times against a defensive line, throw him out there. Throw him in the deep end. See if he can survive. Because, frankly, the incumbents don't deserve the keys. Garrett Bradbury, nice veteran. Trouble with pass protection. Minnesota said thanks, but no thanks, moved on from him. He signed a contract that was about $3 million, so you're not paying him a ton of money. He doesn't deserve the starting job. He's got to earn that job. He's got to make sure that he keeps Jared Wilson away from him. Give him the Heisman pose. He's got to try to do that. Cole Strange certainly doesn't deserve the keys handed to him at left guard. Make him earn it. Whoever plays best wins the job. Now, with that said, if Wilson ends up being the guy, Vrabel knows this, I know this, you know this, we all know this, you've got to be able to live with the mistakes because mistakes will happen. If you are going to play Wilson, especially at center, he only played 1 year at center at Georgia. He started for 1 season at Georgia. So he is relatively new to the position because he played guard before that. And he doesn't have a ton of experience. So if you're going to throw him out there into the fire and he is ready week 1, you got to live with some of the mistakes he is inevitably going to make. But you've got to look at the potential. You got to look at his ceiling versus the Strange ceiling, the Bradbury ceiling. And you've got to make an evaluation whether or not this young man is ready, truly ready, to be shot out of a cannon week 1 at Gillette against Vegas. Let's go to another rookie, Travion Henderson. Noisier on day 2, somewhat quiet day 1, but he was noisier on day 2. Evan Lazar wrote this, more active practice for Henderson. Caught a pass in the flat and a hitch while flexed out wide from Maye. Henderson's speed is legit. Mike Giardi, he wrote, a lot of Henderson touches today, including some where he lined up outside the numbers. So Henderson's not only getting a number of touches day 2 at camp, McDaniels is also lining him up outside the numbers. And this just underscores the versatility of Henderson. You can put him in the backfield. You can put him outside the numbers. You can line him up inside, I do believe. And McDaniels is going to utilize that versatility not only with Henderson, but I think he will also use the versatility with his other running backs. We have already read that, McDaniels at times, he's had all 3 backs out there at once, Stevenson, Gibson, and Henderson. So he's going to utilize that versatility. He is going to line up these backs all over the place. And day 2 had an emphasis on the quick game, quick passing game. And we all know Henderson is an explosive pass receiver. We all know about his pass protection, so it makes sense. If you're focusing on the quick game, Henderson's going to be out there a decent amount. And his long speed is just unique, especially on this roster. So Henderson's getting his chance. And Williams, we talked about Williams on yesterday's episode. The day 1 that Kyle Williams had. Now, he did have a drop day 2. A little bit more quiet on day 2. That's expected. We're talking about rookies. We're talking early in camp. There's going to be some up and down for most of them. But Wilson's getting his shot. Williams is getting his shot. Henderson is getting his shot. Will Campbell, we know he's locked in at left tackle. So when you look at the big picture of this, it's pretty easy to see what's going on. Mike Vrabel just wants the best players out there. He's talked about that before. He doesn't care if you're a 10-year veteran or you're a rookie. He just wants the best guy out there. He wants the best for the job. And Vrabel's job is to get the players ready for these joint practices, especially the young players. You want to see how much these rookies can handle as you grow closer to that Washington Commanders joint practice. You've got to get them ready for early August. You've got a couple of weeks. What can they handle? What can't they handle? So when you get to that joint practice against Washington in a couple of weeks, you know exactly how to utilize your rookie class. It's smart. And if the Patriots hit on this draft, it's just huge. We all felt really good. Many of us felt great about the draft. And I feel even better that Vrabel and this coaching staff, they are not afraid. They are not afraid of throwing these young guys out there and saying, give us your best and we'll figure it out as a coaching staff. You love to see it. All right, so that's for the rookie class. But let's talk about a veteran. because a veteran is showing out early at one of the most critical positions, fulfilling a top need for 2025. That's next as we continue with today's episode of Locked On Patriots, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We've all been there, logging on early, waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. Ever wonder what your view will actually look like before you buy the tickets? I do. Well, Game Time app shows you a panoramic seat view, so there are no surprises. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Harold Landry has turned heads through the first 2 days of training camp. He's looking mighty good early on in this camp for the Patriots. Give you a couple of write-ups from the local writers. Greg Bedard on Landry wrote, continues to show up with early pressure. Landry was Andrew Callahan's player of the day 2 at training camp. Here's what Callahan wrote. Tallied a sack, rushing off each side of the offensive line, giving him 2 on the day. Unquestionably, he's been the most productive pass rusher in camp. Whether Landry's hot start continues is, of course, unknowable, but he's shown shades of the burst and speed in practice that made him a Pro Bowler. Now, the warning, the caveat, the disclaimer, they're not wearing pads. No pads. No pads on Landry. No pads on the offensive lineman. But let's talk about the positives because we go step by step, day by day. So let's take the positives and let's discuss Landry and what he's doing and what kind of impact he could have individually and for the team if he truly is going to experience some kind of renaissance this season. The Patriots, one of their top priorities when you look up and down this roster is having some legit pass rush juice. You just don't have a lot of guys. Anthony Jennings doesn't bring the juice. You hope Swinson and Chason can do that, even if it's in a substitutional kind of rotational situation. Keion White, obviously, you're hoping that he gets going. We'll talk about him in a couple of minutes. But if you have Landry, if Landry does look like the guy that he looked like in Tennessee when he played for Mike Vrabel and Terrell Williams, if he looks like that kind of Harold Landry, if he's got a little bit of extra juice, if he's motivated, chip on the shoulder, not happy about how last season went, if you get that Landry in 2025, it would be such a huge step in the right direction for this defense and for this pass rush, because the pass rush in 2024 was miserable. If you don't believe me, which I don't know why you wouldn't believe me, because if you watch the team, you would know that their pass rush stunk. But let's give you some numbers to back that up. The Patriots last year were 23rd in ESPN's pass rush win rate model. They were 29th in pressure rate, according to Pro Football Reference. They were 21st in hurry rate. They were 32nd in sack rate. They were literally one of the worst pass rushing teams in the NFL in 2024. And if Landry can bring back the old vibes, if he can get back to who he once was, that would be huge for this football team. If Landry is set, then you have a lot less concern about your edge play, because if Landry is out there and he's giving you that kind of production and he's got that kind of motor, then now you look at the opposite side and you say, well, whenever we need to have somebody out there opposite of Landry, we just need one more guy to pop. Maybe it's White, but if it's not White, maybe it's Chason. If it's not Chason, maybe it's Swinson. If one edge is locked down, there's a lot less concern. And if this is going to be a Harold Landry renaissance. Let's talk about how the other guys are doing, because the other guys are showing up as well. If you have Landry settled and you can bank on him being productive and good, if not really good, then you're looking at Christian Barmore, Milton Williams, and Keion White. So how are those other guys doing? Well, I'll tell you. Andrew Callahan, about day 2 of training camp, wrote lots of pressure from Milton Williams. Mark Daniels wrote about Christian Barmore. And Barmore, he wasn't out there in the team drills day 2 because he's trying to be handled about the blood clot situation. So the Patriots have a plan. And part of the plan is that he's going to kind of, take a day here, take a day there to do some individual drills and not do everything. But Barmore spoke to the media. He said he's dropped his weight down to 305. He played at 325 2 years ago. He said he's playing faster now. And we all know his talent level. Mike Giardi wrote after day 2 of practice, part of his good was Keion White's pass rush. And let's not forget, White was good on day 1. So Williams causing lots of pressure. Barmore in the best shape of his career. And then you've got White, who has had back-to-back good days to start training camp. And so I think that the worst case scenario, the worst case scenario is that you have to rotate on the opposite side of Landry. You got to do some rotation, right? That's really the worst case scenario. If these guys can pop, if these guys can go, because they're not going to play 95% of the snaps, especially Williams, especially Barmore. It's just not going to happen. Williams might be around 70%. Who knows what Barmore will be at, especially after last year. So you can't expect those guys to be playing 95% of the snaps. You're going to have some rotations going on that defensive line, especially to keep them fresh with a week 14 bye week. So, but if White and Barmore and Williams and Landry are all playing relatively well, then you just need one more dude. One more dude. One more dude on the edge, one more dude on the inside, maybe Kyrie's Tonga, who's going to be more of the run defender. But that's really all you need. And for Landry, I think it's reasonable to question whether or not last year was an anomaly. Because we know that he's been a Pro Bowler. We know that he's been highly productive during his NFL career. We know that he was terrific for Vrabel and Williams. And maybe last year, I'm not saying this is a guarantee. This only the first 2 days of camp. And again, they're not wearing pads. And Landry's a quick guy. He's got the advantage. But let's hypothetically say Landry continues to play well in camp, does well at joint practices. He ends up doing well in the preseason if he plays, which I don't know how Vrabel's going to handle playing these guys during the preseason, especially the veterans. I think the fact that you have not 1 but 2 joint practices this year should make us lean towards they're not going to play a lot, if at all, during the preseason, many of these guys. But if Landry gets to week 1 and all he's done is look really good during camp, then you could look back and say, hey, man, 2024 was the anomaly. It was a different coaching staff. Maybe they did not utilize him as well as they could have or should have. Maybe he just didn't get along with certain coaches. Maybe he didn't see eye to eye from a football standpoint with some coaches. Maybe philosophically they disagreed with how to handle certain situations. The scheme was different. In the NFL, fit matters. More than any other professional sports league, fit matters in the NFL. And maybe it's just getting Landry back to being comfortable. We also could question the offensive line. But again, no pads. We're not going to get too deep into that. This could be some Landry, some offensive line, but we will give this time. We will see if Landry continues to look really good. We'll see if the offensive line plays better once they get the pads on. Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels are not hiding from Drake Maye's weaknesses. That's coming up on today's episode of Locked On Patriots, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football is back, baby. Fire up group chat. Get your draft boards ready and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, busts, and all the overreactions we live for. You know what I'm talking about. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy. Buddy's playing on Yahoo Fantasy. You should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. I've been around fantasy football for a long time. I'm an old-timer at this point. I remember the notebooks and the newspapers getting up on Monday morning, seeing how my players did. And to celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, because Yahoo's been there every step of the way, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win. It all begins on August 4th. Write that down, August 4th. Stay tuned and get started by creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy Football League at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. And let's make this fantasy season the best one yet. On Thursday's episode, we talked about Drake Maye mastering the details. He's got all the raw potential, but he's got to master the details. And I find it fascinating that after the conversation that we had about the details, that the Patriots went out there on day 2 of training camp with an interesting, intriguing approach offensively. What was the approach? What were they doing? Well, Andrew Callahan wrote, the Boston Herald, 35% of Maye's completions were screens or swing passes, focused on beating the blitz. Phil Perry from NBC Sports Boston, he posted, Ramondre Stevenson just told reporters that the focus today was picking up positive yards on first down, looking to avoid penalties and negative plays. Remember when Mike Vrabel talked about taking advantage of other teams' bad football, other teams' mistakes? Well, the way that you do that, or at least part of the way that you do that, is work on eliminating your own mistakes. You can't take advantage of a team's bad football that you're playing if you yourself are playing bad football. Like, it's just bad football versus bad football. It's a crap fest. But if you start eliminating some of your mistakes, if you start eliminating some of the bad trends, then you're not going to play as much, if any, bad football. And then you're in a spot to take advantage of the other team's bad football that they are playing. So avoid penalties, avoid negative plays. How many times last year did we see this team offensive line-wise? How many times do we see penalties on first and second down? I feel like there were like 755,000 of those things. First down, false start. First down, hold. Second down, hold. Second down, false. It's like enough is enough. I'm going to put my head through a wall. You want to work early in camp to eliminate those issues so you could be ready by week 1 to not shoot yourself in the foot over and over and over again. Those repeat offenders. You don't want to be a repeat offender. And it's critical, situational football. When you talk about a team after back-to-back 4-win seasons, it is absolutely critical that you handle situational football the right way, because that's something else that can hurt you. If you are playing bad football, it means that you are not good at the details. It means that you are struggling with situational football. So it just makes sense to work on that stuff and to work on it early and often. After 2023 and 2024 offensively, you need all the work that you can get on the situational details. I'm talking about third down. I'm talking about fourth down. I'm talking about, short distance. I'm talking about red zone. I'm talking about first down. Like day 2 of camp. Make sure you get positive yardage on first down. This all sounds so fundamental. It's all so basic. A lot of it is obvious. If you get positive yards on first down, you get a better shot to get another first down. You got a better shot to get another first down, which means you're moving the football now. You start out on first down and you lose 3 or 4 yards, 5 yards, 10 yards, disaster. So positive plays on first down. Move the football. You don't need 6, 7 yards. You don't need chunks. Just something positive. This also is about attacking one of Drake Maye's weaknesses. Greg Bedard wrote this about the offensive approach on day 2. This wasn't one of those blitz periods where the offense didn't know what was coming and was left short-handed in pass protection. This felt very scripted and designed to get Maye to exercise his beating the blitz muscles. As pointed out, pay special attention to this. As pointed out in the FTN, which is For the Numbers, pointed out in the For the Numbers Almanac, quote, Maye can easily cut down on the sacks taken by checking down the ball more often. Drake Maye was 34th in the NFL last year in check down rate. And I know check downs, they have a bad reputation, but a lot of times it's just smart football. Take the check down. Remember I mentioned on yesterday's episode, taking a profit? That's the definition of throwing a check down. Get it out of your hands. Take the check down. First down, if a team blitzes you, something's going crazy. There's some chaos in front of you. It's first down and 10. Don't try to be a hero. Because if you're a hero or trying to be a hero, you're going to take a negative play. So don't try to be the hero. So day 2 was all about, hey, first down. If something's being sent at you and you're in trouble, get rid of the football, live to see another day, pick up a couple of yards. Screens, swings, the checkdowns. Maye just did not take enough of the checkdowns last year. And this is Josh McDaniels placing some building blocks on the field. He is building this offense up. He's building Drake Maye up. These are the building blocks at the very beginning. Because as you move deeper into the camp and you're going through the joint practices and even your own team's practices, there's going to be more things thrown at Drake Maye. And so this is just building on the basics, making sure he understands, hey, I got to get rid of the football. I got to take that check down. And then as more starts being thrown at him, he can feel a little bit more comfortable. He's going to be a little bit more confident. And another point to be made, check down, swing passes, screens, you know what that does? That helps your offensive line. The quick game, get the football out of your hands quickly, helps your offensive line in case they're struggling with pass protection. So attacking a Drake Maye weakness. And here's the best news of all. Maye was good. Maye was good on day 2. Mark Daniels wrote that he was 10 of 10 to start practice. Evan Lazar wrote, efficient start to practice for Maye. Had a nice completion on an out to Diggs. Found Henderson with room in the flat. Mike Giardi posted, Maye was efficient and had good ball placement. None of these throws were particularly hard to make, but Drake Maye was on schedule. He was efficient. He was finding those quick outlets. And maybe best of all, Bedard wrote, there appeared to be an option route with Diggs against Christian Ellis, and both the receiver and Maye had no issues executing it. That's a great sign. That's understanding the offense. If you're running option routes and you're on the same page already, day 2 of training camp, that's a great sign. That's a fantastic sign. So Maye was good again. Back-to-back good days for your quarterback. Stack good days early. Stack those good days early because camp's only going to get tougher. Build that momentum when you can. And be completely honed in on August 6th against the Washington Commanders. Because by the second joint practice against Minnesota, this entire program should be clicking. So stack those good days. And that's precisely what Maye has done. That wraps up this edition of Locked On Patriots. Reach out to me on Twitter at Nick C Radio. Don't forget to throw a comment in on the YouTube channel as well. And don't forget to help us out. Hit that like button, that thumbs up, and subscribe to us on YouTube. The Locked On NFL Top 100 available on Locked On Sports today. Of course, voted on by the NFL hosts here at Locked On. Don't miss where your favorite players were ranked. Subscribe to Locked On Sports today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Have a great weekend. We're going to see you on Monday.